Hey guys, it's Israel here again, jumping into my next video. I've just been talking about Kabbalism, however you want to call it, the Kabbalistic Tree of Life, and trying to explain how I think that the purpose of this system was to help people break beyond the frontier of knowledge, to new understanding, and new types of wisdom. And so I think this is actually a tool that's designed for people who are seeking that frontier. And so if you are seeking that frontier, I'm going to dive into this a little bit more, and that's what I'm going to keep doing in these videos. If you are not, this is probably going to sound like just gibberish. And so at this point, if it sounds like gibberish, please don't watch the next video. Please stop your journey here. This is what I'm going to be talking about and diving into in more detail. So I've been already saying that this tree of life has origins in the Hebrew language. Now, what would be interesting maybe to think about next is that the Hebrew language, we know how to origin date. It started at some point in history. And according to at least the biblical tradition, and it seems like the scientific tradition, the origins of this language was a long time ago. It was at least 3,000, maybe 4,000, maybe 5,000 years ago. Even the Bible seems to imply that it was part of the origin of the Bible was the origin of the Hebrew language. And right now there seems to be no record of it before the Hebrews say that they left Egypt or around the time that they left Egypt. And if you start studying ancient languages, which is something that I've gotten into as I've been trying to understand this, you'll realize that there was actually three major languages that all seem to have originated around the same time in the area that we think of today as the Middle East. Those three languages were the Egyptian language, the Cuneiform language, and then the Hebrew language. We don't really know which one came first, second, or third. There are ways to implicate which ones came first, second, or third. But the more important thing is to realize that these three languages seem to have originated at a very old time in our history as being humans. And in fact, we now know that there's such a thing as prehistory, which means things that happened before there was a language and a writing system in order to document them. So for example, if you were to go to the island of Malta in the Mediterranean, they have these ancient monolithic sites where there's no script. There's absolutely nothing written down. And so we don't know the names of those people groups. We don't know really anything about their intentions. And I'm just saying that, well, and those structures predate the pyramids. The pyramids, actually, we have more knowledge about because there was a writing system that helped us capture the ideas and the philosophies of the people of that time. And even though we've lost a lot of the understanding, we are able to translate some of it. But we know that there was a time in human history before language existed. So at some point, language came into being. And as it was coming into being, systems like this suddenly made sense. Because if you think about it, all knowledge was the frontier. All information was the frontier. And so the ability to expand the language to have more ways of capturing and holding ideas and codifying those ideas and making them accessible and storing them for future generations was a very, very, very practical application of that idea. And if you can imagine, this might have seemed like the first internet or like the first electricity or like the first combustible engine or like the first large language model. To the people at this time, you can imagine that this system was actually shocking. They might have used it, and it seems like they did use it in a completely profound way to map out reality, to map out meaning and understanding, and to try to dig deeper into what it meant to be human, what it meant to be God, and what it meant to be in between those two. And so that's all the kind of ideas that come out of this system. As I was saying in a previous video, and I love this visual right here. I'm going to zoom in if I can. I love that this is, I think, from the Latin. It's one interpretation. I'm telling you, if you start Googling this, you will find more and more and more. What's cool about this one is it actually looks mechanistic. When I look at it, it looks like a mechanism. And it says a system of Siferaticum, how the Siferats worked. So this is a pretty ancient one, and there's others that are also very ancient and that are used in different ways. There you can buy, what is this one? Looks like a messianic version of it. But if you look at all of them, they seem to have a couple really important things in common, which is that they have these sephirats, these idiots. They use the Hebrew alphabet as a channel to get around between the sephirats. And then they map it back onto the Hebrew language.